Hi everyone, this is Shahrina Ankhi-Krol coming to you from Ankhi-Krol Law, and today I have a very special guest, my very own teacher from seventh grade, which is another lifetime, Miss Ellen Halloran. Hi, Miss Halloran. I still have to call you Miss. I don't know. I can't.
Please don't. I mean, you can, but Ellen's fine, please.
Okay.
Hi, nice to see you.
You too, you too. It's been a while, and I just want the viewers to kind of understand what it is that you do. Are you still in the New York City public system, public school system? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am a proud veteran of the New York City public school system. I have always, well, I shouldn't say always, 1 year I taught high school, but I have historically taught middle school. I'm currently a sixth grade ELA/slash social studies teacher, and I have always taught ELA. I'm in my 23rd year, and I've seen a lot, but I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me, how, I mean, we all know all the school systems are pretty much closed throughout the country, but especially in New York City where you are, how is it different right now? How are you feeling? What are you seeing?
It's obviously entirely different. It's jolting, but it's also heartwarming and uplifting to a certain extent. Let me just put out there that we're happy to do it, but we as teachers have never worked so hard in our entire lives. You are pretty much accessible 24/7 unless you turn off all your technology, but that's the only way we're communicating with the whole world all the time, so it's on. We are live teaching classes, which is fun. New York City, the day New York City decided to shut, we had a quick training in Zoom, very quick. And as a 23-year veteran, I'm not the most technologically advanced. So it was quite a trial by fire. But I kind of grew to like Zoom, and I appreciated some of the tools it had. Then the New York City Department of Education said Zoom they weren't allowing us to use it. So now we're using Google Meet. I'm fortunate enough that my students are fairly well behaved and love just coming to class in terms of seeing each other, I think. So we're plugging along and doing a good job. But having to pretty much rewrite a curriculum that is taught remotely, and that we're not meeting them every day. We have work for them every day, but I'm only meeting my ELA classes twice a week and my social studies classes twice a week. So that kind of different take on planning has been difficult as well. And because we're not in person and because we're not seeing them every day, we have to give pretty much daily feedback, and that's really hard to do. My eyes are starting to cross from looking at a computer.
Oh
Wait.
no. So would you say the students are still as focused as they were before, which I don't see how that's possible. No one is as focused as before. What has been the hardest challenge for you guys?
There's a variety, a huge range of challenges. We have, our school particularly has a lot of IEP classes, and kids who have special mandates or needs or assistive mandates in their learning plan, educational plan, aren't getting that. We're doing the best we can, but to help someone focus remotely is a lot different than helping someone focus in person. We're also finding, this is traumatic. I happen to live in the, quote, epicenter of the epicenter. I'm in Jackson Heights, and I'm 4 blocks from Elmhurst Hospital. So it's a scary city to be living in at the moment, right? Even for adults. But we at least can process some of it and rationalize or try and keep ourselves sane. It's a tough time to be a preteen and adolescent through high school. It's a tough time to be anybody, but their minds, this is the first time in their lives. Middle school is the first time in a child's life when their friends start to matter more than their family. It's that balance will come back, but this is really traumatic to be separated from your classmates. It's really traumatic for many kids whose parents and family members are sick, a lot of kids are sick. So when the biggest concern for teachers is when kids aren't showing up to class, or they aren't at least checking in via email or checking Google Classroom. So we're doing a lot of outreach and trying to make sure, at the very least, our biggest concern is everyone is okay.
Right. And, we have been hearing a lot about how students in the New York City public education system, they're not having enough food to eat because there is no school. A lot of people are actually doubting that, especially folks that are not in the area, in the region. They're wondering how it can be that there is no food for people at all at their homes under normal circumstances, even yet now, because now it's just, everything is quite crazy. Can you give any insight into that?
Well, I mean, I was listening to the mayor yesterday, and pre-pandemic, we have 1 million households that are food insecure in New York City. Then on top of, when the pandemic started, people are out of work, they're lacking income. Luckily, the mayor is giving away, school foods to whoever wants them, school lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But you and I can both attest to, no offense, it's probably not the most filling nor the most, appetizing at times. And there are a lot of households that are, they're overcrowded, or understaffed, so people can't leave their kids alone to go shop. There are so many different issues. They either can't afford it or they just can't get access to the food. If you look at the supermarkets around here too, the lines are 2 hour long to get in. So that alone, you can't, and they only allow pretty much one household member in at once, because you want to limit the number of people interacting or maintain social distancing. So the demographics or the logistics rather are very difficult.
Right. And I remember, right when the shutdown was taking place, you were very vocal about how the school system wasn't shutting down fast enough. Do you think that helped or not helped? Well, do you think that helped spread the virus faster because we didn't shut down fast enough?
I would 100% believe that, but there will be no proof,
Right, of course.
Particularly because we stayed open like a week longer than most other school systems in New York State. So kids were bringing whatever they, were gathering from home or from public transportation. Teachers and other staff members take public transportation. The 7 train that I take was insanely crowded, going to and from work. And at that point, nobody was wearing masks. You were staring at each other. If somebody, near you started sneezing or coughing, you were like, no. But even the week after, when students weren't coming in, they mandated teachers to come in and take public transportation and come and sit in rooms and learn how to remotely teach. All of that could have been done like we're doing now. So yeah, I think it was a bad decision or a poor choice to keep it open as long as they did, but you know what, it's done. There's
nothing you can do about it now.
But I think it was, as of yesterday, 83 members of the United Federation of Teachers in New York City, retired and active, have already passed away from COVID-19 related illness. And that number is going to grow. Right.
So do you think the school system is actually going to open back up for this school year, or have they decided that they're not opening?
It's, I think one department's decided definitively. De Blasio put out that statement saying they were, we're sorry to have to say that they're going to be closed for the rest of the year. And then the governor came in and said, well, I make that decision. Personally, I think there's no hope of going back in New York City. There might be openings in New York State. It breaks my heart because I think even for 2 or 3 weeks, if it was 100% secure, to go back would mean a lot to the kids and to the staff members, but I don't think it's safe to do it. I mean, how can you socially distance at all and ensure 100% hygiene, sanitary conditions in a school when you have 35 people in a classroom at one time?
Right. No, I totally agree. Do you think fall is actually going to happen? Do you think schools are going to open back up in fall?
Please, I can't do
you want to go back?
I totally want to go back. And it's so funny because even a week into this, in our first week of remote teaching, the snarkiest, most, you know, people full of ennui or whatever. And my little sixth graders, you know what? I never thought I'd say this, but I miss school so much.
Oh, that's nice. Well, I'm sure they miss you because, you are who you are. And I mean, I don't know what
Because
I
I get
can
down to
say
the
about you.
level.
Um,
I'm a sixth grader at heart.
well, I had you in seventh grade, not sixth, right? I think this is a
No,
million years ago.
if I remember correctly, I think it was seventh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And,
didn't teach sixth grade often at the school. I taught it when I taught Shahrina. It was at a middle school where I was for 17 years, and I only taught sixth grade once. I think I historically
would
taught.
you like to elaborate a little bit more for the viewers on what that experience was like so they can learn a little bit more about me too? So this is going to be fun.
We were in. It was actually I think it was one of the highlights of my. That time was
I was, right?
very. You were absolutely. You probably are the highlight of my teaching career. Um,
Just to put it out there.
If anybody I've ever taught is watching this, I'm only but no, it was in inner city Queens. Our school, I'm not going to name the school, but I think let's put it in perspective. Right now it has an enrollment of under 500 students. I think we're in my first or second year, and we had an enrollment of close to 1,600. So
Yeah.
it was fairly overcrowded. It was pretty intense.
To say the least.
To say the least, there were students that were coming from all different kinds of home personal challenges and struggles, and much of our population was living in either Queensbridge or Ravenswood housing. And it was an interesting time. But I have to say, in retrospect, some of my favorite, times or memories come from them. Some of them, I'm still in touch with many students I taught, but it was a different time. I think now there's been, I think middle schools are different now for the most part. The ones that I'm familiar with, they're much smaller. There's much more of an attempt or a push to have at least personal connections with students so we can keep in touch with them and know kind of the struggles, or try and be able to help kids a little navigate adolescence in academically and personally. So I think it's definitely improved. But it was you managed to keep your head well above water, and you did very well for yourself.
Thank you.
Which wasn't easy.
I know those years for me, they were just something else. I really don't even know how to describe them. They were not easy for sure. But you know what? Teachers like yourself, they really kept the spirit going. So I can still see you have that. You still have it all figured out, and I'm sure
I have everything.
A lot of the students want to go back to school, because I don't know normally who would want to go back to school.
No. You have right where I am now is, I honestly have to say, as there were amazing teachers at the school where I taught you, and I'm still in touch with the ones that I was close with, and two of them have come over to my school where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But the staff at the school I'm in now is unbelievable. It's as if they were handpicked from the best pool, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you're there.
Well, but a lot of them are like me. Like, they're very caring, and they're really concerned, and they're really goofy, and the kids, I think, have a lot of fun and learn at the same time. So
that's great. And just so people who are watching, I know a lot of them will be my clients. Would you like to say how you found me after years of not knowing where I was?
You
Do you remember?
Did I email your law school professor or something?
No, my boss.
Your boss, and it was in like Michigan?
Yes, when I was in law school.
Yes. And I don't know how, like, you and I were in touch for a little while, and then it just dissipated. And then I don't know how I must have seen or heard, or, I know exactly
You forgot.
I was at a big publishing company had invited teachers and 2 or 3 students each to go to like a book release and book signings, and authors would be there, and the kids would get free books and get to hear readings. And they had a program, and I sat down on and in the program, it announced the prior year's winner of a writing contest. And it was your name. And I was like, go away. I said, how many Shahrina Ankis could there be in this city? And then I don't know what happened. Maybe I Googled you and I saw Michigan, and yes, I was just so excited. I thought it was like kismet that I had to reach out and find you again, because there you were on the chair.
Yeah, I mean that's so funny because I believe right before I heard about you from my boss, we just updated his website, I think the week prior to that. So he said, I think this is not spam, but one of your teachers just contacted me. I'm like, oh my God, it's her. So it was, it was great that we got to connect.
It really
That
was.
way.
I'm
Yeah,
so happy we did.
yeah. So just to go back to what we were talking about, this was a great little break, and I wanted it to come out so people know, how we know each other and how our relationship has evolved. How do you foresee this changing in the next year? Obviously, people are going to be a lot more cautious with what they're doing and how they're gathering in crowded places. Do you think the school system is going to change the way that the kids are interacting, or even the teachers are interacting within the school itself?
I think it's going to have to. I don't know how they can logistically. Honestly, at the very least, they're going to have to be like breaks to go hand wash more often or something like that. Perhaps masks when outbreaks come. They're talking about a second wave. I don't know. What I found interesting is a lot of kids who struggle learning in person in class are actually starting to flourish here. I don't know if it's they don't have the noise around them, or they love technology and don't like, standard old classic kind of learning styles. It's pretty amazing to see our students expressing themselves through creating vlogs or things like that. And so that I think will be a nice bonus to, the reaches we've had to make to try and accommodate learning, I think will be infused in future, planning. But I definitely think there has to be a way going forward for schools to have, the whole educational system to have a plan on how to respond to things like this, because I fear this is not going to be, a one-shot deal. Right. Next year, they're saying in the winter. So the minute this happens in the winter, they have to start shutting things down. I don't know. Are we going to have to rearrange the school year down the road? Will it be like more cyclical, like trimesters, and not have a summer based on flu seasons? Yeah, it's a huge question going forward.
Right, and I think also it's a good time for even the educational system, on top of businesses out there, to really start implementing remote learning, because it is such a big part of people's lives now, to do everything remotely, that I think, like you said, a lot of students are appreciating the difference in the learning methods. Plus, it could actually be beneficial should something like this happen again, which most likely it will.
I agree. The biggest challenge I think New York City faces is, if we don't, it's kind of demeaning, but it's also a reality that we didn't close basically because the city considers us a babysitting service, right? And in fairness, most parents, most households have working parents, or the parents aren't home. So I don't know the answer to that, struggle. If it ends up, that we could do, A days and B days of kids coming in and then learning remotely on C&D and swapping that up. It's interesting, but I don't know that parents' work schedule will be able to accommodate that, unless every other area of society takes that on too. If parents can work remotely more often or things like that.
Right. So that actually has been a real I guess, question for parents, because if they start opening up the economy, they have to go back to work. So what happens if schools remain closed and they have to go to work? So like you said, it is a huge question that we don't know the answer to yet.
No.
So
It'll be interesting to find out how.
yeah, yeah. Is there anything you would like to say to any of your students listening? Hopefully they will tune in to see the teacher.
Just that I miss them so much, and they are all my favorite doodahs, and I can't wait to see them again. And I'm insanely proud of them. I'm like gushing with pride at their persistence and their attempts to try and, you know, organize themselves and do what they need to do. And also a lot of them are sharing ideas on how they're entertaining themselves. And it's really heartwarming and wonderful. They're the best. So I miss them.
Thank you. Any other words of wisdom before we part?
Oh, all my wisdom.
One, not just your students.
I just think everyone always says, and as horrible as it is, for society, this too shall pass. We'll get through it. I am eternally grateful, and I'm not always grateful that I have a governor that I have the governor I have now, but I am very, very grateful I have him at the moment because I'm not feeling very confident in the federal government at the moment. So it's nice to have a governor who is at least talking some sense. That's all.
Good. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for listening. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. And I am hoping to bring forth some more individuals in different industries to talk about how COVID-19 has affected the community. Thank you.
Thanks.